Hey guys, this is Gaijin Hunter. As you know, one of the things I want most in this world is a brand new Monster Hunter game made for the Nintendo Switch. We just got a huge hint today that very well may be in the works. Going over to Capcom's IR website, which they just held a stockholder meeting, there was 2 questions that they picked up from stockholders that they decided to feature on the website. Out of the 2 questions, the second one was unrelated, but the first one was specifically about Monster Hunter. Also, fun fact here, you can actually read Japanese backwards, and it almost sounds kind of natural in English. It's just one of those fun things. So this says, I would like to inquire about plans for Monster Hunter World on the Nintendo Switch. Also, I want you to once again sell a Monster Hunter game that middle school and high school kids can enjoy. The answer from Capcom was, we have no plans currently to bring Monster Hunter World to the Nintendo Switch. We do have plans for a Monster Hunter that middle school and high school kids can enjoy that you can look forward to. Okay, so what follows now is my take. The wording here is incredibly vague with the whole like middle school to high school student. They're talking more about the target demographic. We're not talking about ratings and stuff like that. It's very interesting because the first question is specifically 2 different parts. There's one saying, tell me about Monster Hunter World for the Switch, yes, no, any plans? What's interesting is the second part is a statement, not a question, and it's very specific in Japanese that this is no longer talking about Monster Hunter World on the Switch, but a different game completely, saying that I want you to once more sell a Monster Hunter that students can enjoy. Now, what I think here is this is very cleverly worded because a Monster Hunter game that students can enjoy. We can assume that mobile games is more for the businessman who has a credit card, you can do microtransactions. We're not going to like sell a mobile game to middle school students, right? I mean, come on now. Or, I mean, maybe high school students, but I doubt it. So I think that they're talking more about, you know, you can take it outside and play with other students. So portable, like the PlayStation Portable or the Nintendo 3DS. Now, there was a blog post, which I tweeted about this morning from a Japanese person who was in the actual investor relations sort of stockholder meeting and heard these questions asked live. And the way that they wrote that the question was asked was, I want you to sell a Monster Hunter game that students can enjoy, you know, like the ones on PSP. So I don't know whether that person was just putting in their own thoughts or that was the way it was phrased, but on the official Capcom IR, they're saying a game geared for middle to high school students. So obviously they wouldn't put the name PSP on there if that was actually asked that way. So either way, the wording is pretty vague, but I'm pretty sure that it means that a portable game machine, which of course would mean the Nintendo Switch right now. A smaller note here in the answer from Capcom when they say a game that can be enjoyed by middle to high school students, they put the word also. So a game that can be also enjoyed by middle and high school students. So they're being a little bit more inclusive here, saying anybody can enjoy the Monster Hunter game that they're working on, including middle and high school students, which again, sounds like the Switch to me. Now look, we've been having little tidbits of speculation, of hints that they've been working on a Monster Hunter game for the Switch. I think the one that most people in the West point to was what I just covered was the 41st stockholder meeting. On the 39th one, and this was back in I think 2018, they were being asked about their feelings towards the Nintendo Switch, and they said, we currently have Monster Hunter Double Cross Nintendo Switch version available for the Nintendo Switch, and plan to continue developing other titles for this platform in the future. Now, the way that it was worded, sort of like, I think people were a little bit hopeful, but it almost sounded like saying, hey, we've got Monster Hunter Double Cross, and we're going to make other, parentheses, Monster Hunter games for the same platform. Now, they didn't actually come out and say Monster Hunter specifically here, but for them giving Monster Hunter Double Cross as an example and going on, it was kind of left open to interpretation. But then again, with Nintendo and the Switch, it seemed pretty obvious that this was going to be a hit machine in Japan, so it wouldn't surprise anybody if they were going to make a Monster Hunter game for it. And I've talked about this before on Twitter and I think in a video as well, but we also get sort of put on your tinfoil hat for this one, but there was a special message left from the Monster Hunter Portable Series director. He's also the one who worked on Generations and Generations Ultimate, which is Ichinose-san. He had sort of his 15th anniversary message. He had a really cute picture, and very suspiciously inside of his card here, we see 4 English letters very big and bold, which is NEXT, which is next. Now, for those of you who don't know, the code name for the Nintendo Switch was the NX, or the Next. It was just a generic name saying that the next hardware that Nintendo was going to do. So a lot of us took this as a hint that this could be saying, hey, we're working on Monster Hunter for the next, which is the Switch. Now, mind you, we weren't just pulling this out of nowhere. Ichinose-san also did a thing for the 10th anniversary where he like literally drew the concept of Nakarkos before Nakarkos ever appeared in Monster Hunter. I don't know if that was a fluke. I don't think he was trying to hint at it. I think he legitimately thought that this was a monster idea that they just never used. But then again, as a developer, you think that they would know that any ideas that they previously had that they didn't use are potential ideas for the future, so this could have been a hint as well. Either way, Ichinose-san is the director of the Portable series games, so it would make a lot of sense that his team, because for those of you who don't know, there's actually 2 teams that work on Monster Hunter, it would make sense that that team would be focused on a Switch game, while the other team would be focused on obviously World and Iceborne and whatever comes after that. And the final piece of evidence I will say is let's look at where the sort of sales of all the games have been in the past. This is from my own self sort of research on the internet, Japanese sales sites, press releases, stuff like that. So it may not be completely accurate, but this is what I feel is the most accurate information that I could find online. This shows the sales breakdown of all the past games for both Japan and overseas. Now, obviously, you can see Monster Hunter Portable 3rd was the pinnacle. That's where it really exploded. And what I'm just trying to illustrate here is that Monster Hunter really got its sales and its footing in Japan on portable machines. Whenever it's gone onto a console, whether it was from the very beginning or when they tried sort of like with Monster Hunter 3, the sales weren't nearly as good as it was on portable. Of course, now fast forward to Monster Hunter World, which is its sort of return to console, overseas sales was just absolutely phenomenal. Let's look at this breakdown from generation, because there was 3 games in most of the generations, 4 from the last one because I'm including Monster Hunter 4, 4G, Cross and Double Cross as 4th gen. And only obviously 2 games, which is World and Iceborne, so far for the 5th gen. The sales are very interesting. We can see here that there's been gradual increase in Japanese sales, gradual increase in overseas, and then just an explosion with World. So obviously Monster Hunter tailored for the West, like home console is the way to go. But look at those numbers for Japan. They are good. Like, don't mistake me wrong. PlayStation games like PlayStation 4 don't usually hit 1 million here, let alone several million. So those numbers that you see there are phenomenal, okay, for Monster Hunter. But do you think a Japanese developer with 2 teams working on different Monster Hunter games would be satisfied that their home turf, that was the sales figures, that the franchise would just be dwindling down compared to the last generation? You'd be crazy. I mean, come on, it's not like you take 2 development lines, you throw them all onto one game, and you say, okay, well, we're going to make Monster Hunter 6, and it's going to be on PlayStation 5 and Xbox and PC and whatever, so not. You don't do that. You have 2 development lines, you have them work on 2 different projects. That way, we're not sitting there for 5-6 years in a drought. I mean, Monster Hunter Double Cross, or Generations Ultimate, basically was made so that it can buy time as the other team worked on World. So you see, they really go hand in hand. Also think about this, how long do you think it'll take them to make the next big Monster Hunter game on a console, considering how much time and how much effort they put into making World and Iceborne? Quite a bit, especially because we're going into a new generational jump. The Monster Hunter team has always shown that they're interested in pushing hardware and doing what they can out of a specific hardware target. So I fully expect them to be looking at the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and PC, having tons of cool new ideas for Monster Hunter 6 or whatever the heck they'll call it. That will take years to make, even if they're already started on it. That's not coming out anytime soon. So, looking at this chart, you know how many Switches were sold in Japan so far? Almost 14 million. And look at the numbers overseas. It's actually doing really good everywhere. So having one line making a game on the Switch and then alternating between that and the like huge like quadruple A quality, like, you know, high-end ray traced Monster Hunter, whatever the heck they're going to do. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense from a product standpoint. Now, finally, to end this sort of speculation video, which has actually been really fun because I do like talking about this stuff because I'm passionate about it and I really, really want a Monster Hunter for the Switch. I do see comments online saying, well, how about a Monster Hunter Stories 2? Yes, please, that would be awesome. But if you look at the sales for Monster Hunter Stories 1, they weren't that fantastic. I mean, it was a loved game, highly appraised, and you should definitely play it, but it wasn't like 1 million, 2 million, you know, seller. So if they ever do it in the future, I'd be super happy, but whatever they're working on next, that can't be the only one. Like, that's not the answer for Monster Hunter on the Switch. it's got to be a major game. Anyways, this is where I'm going to end the video. I just wanted to share the sort of the new tidbit that came out of that IR report today with the questions, because it just lends more hype and momentum to this idea that they're planning for a Switch game. And if you think about like Iceborne, we've got Alatreon coming out in July. It looks fantastic. They're still going to be doing more free content after that, which is nuts. So like, no matter what your thoughts on Iceborne are, like the amount of content that they've given away to players is ridiculous. They've more than doubled the value of the game since it was released. So they get massive props for that. The team has always been good about this kind of stuff. So good stuff on Capcom. Very excited for what comes next. If they only have, let's say, 2 more major updates for Iceborne, then I suspect that whatever is going to be the next Monster Hunter game, we might be hearing about it sooner than later. But with the world situation and development situation, who knows? Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video of me just blabbing on about this topic. I'm super excited at the prospect and the idea that it may be happening, and time will tell. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys feel about what the next game might be, what you might want it to be, or just your thoughts on sort of the interviews from the IR report, the Q&A, and your thoughts and interpretations of what it might mean. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until next time, happy hunting, happy mask wearing.